Thank you for a kind introduction and for all of you for being here today. I want to start us off with a shimmy. Are you all ready? A little shimmy? Yeah, I like it. I like it. Woo! Okay, my talk is not about shimmying, and I am going to keep my day job. How does change happen? How do movements start? When we look at our light bulb here, we see that an idea comes in a flash and inspires others to make a difference. For me, it was a high five from Desmond Tutu at the age of 12 that set me up on a course of change. When we look back at history, we see that great shifts take place when a fork in the road occurs. People cannot stand a situation any longer, and a need for change arises. Look at the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of slavery, the independence of India, the end of apartheid, and even US independence. Although, as an English person, I can't quite understand why you would want independence from Great Britain. But anyway, I could go on. What is the common denominator in these shifts? It is the power of the people like you and me. We understand that we can make a difference and that we have choices. Just as we choose our houses, our spouses, our professions, and our cars, we also choose what sort of world we want to live in. We are a generation of system thinkers and change makers. We are faced right now with a fork in the road, a turning point, and a choice to make. What will we choose? There is a movement which started slowly, is gaining momentum, and is capturing the minds of millions of people around the world. It is called Divest-Invest. So what is it all about? It is a movement which asks individuals like you and me and institutions to divest from fossil fuels and invest in new energy solutions for moral and financial reasons and to save our planet. Woo! Yes! Divestment states that business as usual is no longer acceptable. By divesting from fossil fuels, we are telling the fossil fuel industry that business as usual is no longer acceptable. Yes! By investing in new energy solutions, we are investing in the future. And our money is part of the solution instead of part of the problem. This movement is large, growing, and not going away. The motivation for change starts with the individual, with you and with me. I mentioned earlier the high five from Desmond Tutu that set me up on a path of change. He gave me a high five for being cheeky. However, the occasion was a serious one. I was asked to recite a quotation from the Baha'i writings at a major gathering. The quotation is on this slide and is as relevant today as it was then. It goes as follows. A human being's inner life molds the environment and is deeply affected by it. The one acts upon the other, and every abiding change in the life of man is the result of these mutual reactions. So what does this mean? For me, it means we are intimately and inextricably bound to the environment. When we harm the environment, we harm ourselves. This becomes clear to me every time I go to China, and within a day I am fighting laryngitis because of the pollution. I can't stand here today and not think about my friends in China and around the world who are daily fighting for their existence because of the challenges of climate change. There is an urgency to act today, and this urgency can no longer be an intellectual exercise. It must seep into our consciousness and become the driver of our every action. My mentor and friend, Wayne Silby, co-founder of the Calvert Funds, and pictured here, is a great inspiration to me. He is a dreamer. In the late 1970s, he co-founded the Calvert Funds, one of the first social investment funds, and many people thought he was crazy. In fact, some still do. But he has since been incredibly successful, and the Calvert Funds is now a $14 billion social investment fund. That's pretty impressive for a dreamer. I know there are a lot of dreamers in this audience. I am one of them. But we are also doers. Impact investing in the 21st century is becoming commonplace. Divest-Invest is not far behind. The divestment movement, like many other movements, started on university campuses and in communities leading the charge for action on climate change. It started slowly at first, and then led to a rocket ship of progress and commitments from individuals, foundations, universities, faith-based groups, municipalities, in fact, anybody or any organization dedicated to a better future. This photo was taken at the UN Climate Summit last September, where 400,000 people marched through the streets of New York City, and tens of thousands more marched through the streets of cities all around the world. I was there, and for those of you who were there, you felt the power of this moment. They wanted action, they wanted change. In just a few months, Divest-Invest has grown rapidly, and in September, we announced individuals and institutions totaling of assets of $52 billion had pledged to Divest-Invest. So who is coalescing around this movement? Actor Mark Ruffalo, Stanford University, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. Some of the foundations who have joined are listed on this slide. And thousands of individuals like you and me are coalescing around this movement. Since September, billions of dollars more have been committed, and recently Prince Charles, the Church of England, and AXA Insurance came on board. Divest-Invest Philanthropy, my particular area of activity, recently announced that over 90 foundations had joined our community of practice. Our goal is to reach 200 foundations by December of this year in the lead up to the UN Paris Climate Summit, where global leaders will come together to negotiate a deal. We need to show them that we are serious. This movement is here to stay. Parallels of the Divest-Invest movement have been drawn to the divestment movement that led to the fall of apartheid South Africa. This clip from the Guardian newspaper helps to make this parallel.
A generation ago, when the biggest moral issue in the world was apartheid in South Africa, Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu suggested this tactic, that it was time for the great institutions of the West to cut their economic ties with companies that propped up the apartheid regime. If there's ever going to be any kind of international agreement, it'll only be because our political and business leaders are feeling unrelenting pressure from all over the world.
So unless there's political pressure to change, nothing will change.
This movement is here to stay. As many have said, we are the first generation to understand the depth of the problem and the last generation to be able to do anything about it. Some may say that this challenge is too big, but we are wrong. They are wrong. We are not lone voices. We are part of a much broader movement. There is a reason beyond the moral and ethical arguments why we should care about this. There is the financial argument. The most damaging misunderstanding about fossil fuels is that they are a safe investment. Quite the contrary. Investing in fossil fuels is risky business. There is a carbon asset risk, a competition risk, and a regulatory risk. As you can see in this slide, of the $20 trillion of fossil fuels underground, only $7 trillion of this is actually burnable. This $20 trillion differential is known as stranded assets. This means that in order to keep climate change within the internationally agreed standard of a 2 degrees Celsius increase and to avoid destroying our planet, this $20 trillion of fossil fuels cannot be burnt. Assets in the fossil fuel industry are greatly overvalued, and there is a huge volatility in fossil fuel share prices. Mark Carney, governor of the Bank of England, and Jim Yong Kim, World Bank president, and many others have warned that many current fossil fuels will be deemed absolutely worthless. The issue has become so stark that recently major bank HSBC warned that investors who stay in fossil fuels may one day be seen to be late movers on the wrong side of history. Who wants to be on the wrong side of history? Furthermore, by owning fossil fuels, we are owning climate change. On the invest side of the equation, invest opportunities present high growth, impactful opportunities. As you can see in this slide, there are invest opportunities across asset classes in a broad range of sectors, from energy efficiency to water purification, clean transportation, agriculture, and many more, totaling trillions of dollars. There are also an increasing number of fossil-free mutual funds, and in reality, there are fossil-free portfolios that are outperforming the S&P 500. Some of the examples of invest opportunities include Tesla and Solar City, the Africa Renewable Energy Fund, and the China Environment Fund. These opportunities are real and growing. Sometimes change may appear impossible, but we can encourage and support each other. Ellen Dorsey, one of the pioneering Divest-Invest Philanthropy signatories and CEO of the Wallace Global Fund, is a great inspiration to me. She understands that there is huge strength in the power of collective action and mutual support. Together, we will be able to create a world that we are proud of. The world is interconnected, and action in one sphere of our lives has implications in other spheres of our lives. Therefore, ignoring climate justice has implications for economic justice, social justice, and racial justice. In fact, they are all part of the same moral imperative. When we raise these issues to individuals, organizations, and businesses to take action, we are taking on these issues as one. We know that it is not all about money. It is about you and me and what changes we make to our daily lives which matters. In other words, nothing will really change unless we first change ourselves. Martin Luther King said, "Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step." So what are the first steps in accelerating this movement? There are 4 things that you can do: join, divest, invest, and share. The first part is simple. Pledge online at divestinvest.org. This part is free and simple. You can join as individuals, foundations, universities, municipalities, or whatever organizations you are affiliated with. I urge you to join what Oxford University has referred to as the fastest growing divestment movement of all time. Secondly, divest from fossil fuels. You can go to your investment advisors, your 401k plans, your pension plans, and bring the moral and financial arguments out into the open. Thirdly, invest in new energy solutions. The more money invested, the faster these sectors will grow. And fourthly, share. Others who have joined this movement have been incredible ambassadors of this work. Shout from the rooftops, march in the streets, use social media. We know that peer-to-peer movements are extremely powerful. As I have mentioned, Desmond Tutu has been a huge inspiration to me. He has also been a great ambassador of the Divest-Invest movement. He put together this video in the lead up to the UN Climate Summit last September.
Divest from fossil fuels and invest in a clean energy future. Move your money out of the problem and into solutions. There is a word we use in South Africa that describes human relationships. Ubuntu. It says, "I am because you are. My success and my failures are bound up in yours. We are made for each other, part of one family, the human family, with one shared earth." God bless you.
Amazing man. But we have come full circle. Ubuntu, In that word, two movements are brought together: the rise of Divest-Invest and the fall of apartheid. Ubuntu, I am because you are. I encourage you to join this movement, and I am passing on the high five from Desmond Tutu to you all. Thank you.